Hi guys, today we're going to be looking at plot elements. This is something we've been talking about a lot as we're reading through our Rules novel. And I wanted to just take the time today to go through each of the different parts of the plot so that you guys will be prepared in the end for an assessment on plot elements, as well as to create your own plot mountain of the story rules. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to present this to you guys. All right, so a plot diagram has 5 different parts. You have your exposition, your rising action, your climax, your falling action, and your resolution. And like you see, it kind of forms like a mountain. The exposition is the beginning part of the story, so the very level part as your beginning. Then you have the rising action, kind of climbing up the mountain. The climax is when you reach the top of the mountain. And then as you're coming down from the climax, it's your falling action. And then the resolution is where it evens out at the end. So it kind of makes like a mountain. Plot. What is the definition of plot? Plot is the organized pattern or sequence of events that make up a story. Every plot is made up of a series of incidents that are related to one another. You sometimes have what we call subplots within a plot, where they have another little story going on within the story. But the overall plot is that organized sequence of events. What happens one after the other to get you to the end of the story? So the first part of our plot is our exposition. We've talked about this with rules. It usually occurs at the beginning of a short story. This is where the characters are introduced, the setting is introduced, and most importantly, we're introduced to our main conflict or our main problem. So again, exposition, 3 parts to exposition: characters, setting, main problem. Then we have what's called our inciting event. I call this 1A because it's kind of a little bit a part of the exposition as well. This is the event that starts it all, the event that caused that main conflict to become the main conflict of the story. Usually occurs again near the beginning of the story to help set up that rising action. So there's some specific event that happens that is going to set off the rest of the story into motion. That's considered your inciting event. The rising action. This is the part of the story where your conflict begins to develop. A building of interest, a building of suspense is going to occur at this time. There's going to be little things that happen again to kind of get you interested in that story and want to keep on reading. So these are the little pieces of the story that are going to help develop that overall conflict. Your climax. This is your turning point of the story. It's usually when the main character comes face to face with that main conflict, and they're going to make some kind of a change in some way. So if they're having a conflict such as a man versus man conflict, whoever they're having that conflict with, they're going to learn something, they're going to figure something out, and they're going to make some kind of a change. That will be the climax, when they come face to face with that conflict and decide to make that change. If you think about the climax, a lot of people say it happens in the middle of the story. It could honestly be a little bit more towards the end of the story. It doesn't have to be in the middle. Again, it's just the point where they actually come face to face with that main conflict and make that change. The falling action. This is where all your loose ends of the plot are tied up. Your conflict and climax are pretty much taken care of. So that change that they made is going to make that change in that conflict. It's going to have them resolve that conflict in some way, shape, or form. So again, all those loose ends, all the other little pieces that were happening as well, so all those other little subplots, they're all going to be tied up at the end with the falling action as well. So you're going to find out all the information you need to know to have the story come to an end. And your resolution, the story comes to a reasonable ending. The conflict has been resolved. The story is able to have a finish to it, and you're able to move on from the story and maybe even make a sequel, or say the story is completely done and over. So that's your resolution. It's when that main conflict is actually physically finally resolved. All right, those are our plot elements overall. So if we put it all together, your exposition and rising action are considered to be at the beginning of your story. Your climax would be the middle of the story, could be a little bit more towards the end, depending on the story itself. Your falling action and your resolution are definitely your end of your story. So if you think of that mountain, beginning to the middle, down to the end. All right, we are going to be talking about plot elements throughout Rules. We're also going to be talking about plot elements through every novel we read this year. So these are important things for you to remember, and you're going to be using these to create your plot mountain when we do that at the end of this quarter. So you're going to keep this information for yourself so that you know exactly what the plot mountain will do. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.